All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome to SM Blab, a bi-weekly Blab series where we talk about small business technology and trends from WebRTC to BYOD and every other acronym in between. Actually, today we're taking a little break from the acronyms, not too many acronyms today. But I am your host, Angela Leavitt, founder of Mojo Marketing. And we have Mike.
And I'm Mike Oeth, and I'm CEO and co-founder of OnSIP Hosted VoIP.
Yes, and today we have two very special guests joining us. We've got Heather Heigel and Kate Ferrara from And Culture. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay, from And Culture. And we're going to be talking about some really cool trends in design, in UX. We're going to be talking about apps that help small businesses function effectively and all kinds of other fun stuff. So welcome, Heather and Kate.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
You bet. Do you guys want to tell us a little bit about And Culture before we get started?
Sure, yeah. So we are based in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, about a 3-hour Amtrak ride from New York City. And Culture has been around for a little over 16 years. It's an experience design firm that focuses a lot on healthcare, education, government. We touch on all industries, but those are our main focuses. Kate and I specifically run a division of And Culture called House, like House, very simple House. And it is a 2-man, 2 women, actually, shop. And whereas And Culture focuses on longer, strategic, research-driven engagements, we focus on very short, quick-hitting projects that often serve as the foot in the door for longer engagements for And Culture. So most of the projects we do range from 1 week to 3 months. And whereas if you're working with And Culture, you may experience a lot more, like I said, research, discovery, inception type processes that go all the way from start to finish, from the research to design to development. We often handle at House just a small segment of any one of those phases. And again, very quick, very short, very quick hitting. It's scrappy, but still has a really good craftsman polish at the end.
Nice.
Awesome.
Very cool. So what prompted And Culture to kind of split you guys off and focus on the shorter term projects?
Yeah, so it's actually kind of interesting. And we actually brought this idea to Dave Hickethier, our founder and CEO here at And Culture. Kate and I worked together for quite some time on projects within And Culture when it was just And Culture. And as And Culture was shifting more toward those longer strategic experience design engagements, we realized this need for, again, more of those short, high-impact projects. And Kate and I just happen to love doing that kind of work. We just gel together. Kate's more of the design side. I'm more of content strategy. But we also are there's a lot of overlap. So we like to call ourselves a lean cross-discipline team. And so, just knowing the way that we work together and seeing that need that And Culture at the time wasn't tapping into as much as it could have been, we kind of brought up the idea for House. And fortunately, they liked the idea and, kind of let us run with it. So it's actually pretty new for us. We started kind of coming up with the concept and the idea and everything before the new year, and just rolled it out in 2016.
Awesome. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Mike, how did you get introduced to these lovely ladies?
Right. So we ended up engaging And Culture for a major website redesign and a specific software development project.
Okay.
Nice long engagement, and it was really, really great working with them. So it wasn't just doing pretty graphics. It was how does the strategy work around making everything look great. So
yeah,
I really enjoyed working with them.
Well, I know that feeling is definitely mutual, and that strategy, whether it's a 1-week project or a 2-year project, that strategy is super important. And with the introduction of House, we've never lost sight of that. It's just maybe executed a little bit differently based on the needs of each audience.
Right. I was gonna say we kind of like to call it like intuition-based ideation, where we kind of treat our lives almost like the research. So, we're approached with a project and we kind of look at each other like, okay, so when have we used something like this before? Or like, when have we wanted to use something like this before? And we kind of take all of our already, learned knowledge and apply that, and then kind of pick up from there and do a little bit of research based on the holes we need to fill. And then push forward, heads down, lock ourselves in a room, figure everything out, get the IA down, everything, and then just run with it. So it's a little bit quicker than the culture model, but very much the same as far as, the basis.
And what is IA?
Sorry. Yeah, Heather, do you want to, that's Heather's wheelhouse.
Yeah. So there are actually acronyms in this Blab.
Okay, great.
Big fan of acronyms here. So.
So information architecture, IA. When I started at Culture, I actually came on as a copywriter, and I've since kind of done content strategy and experience design and a little bit of everything. Kate and I like to call ourselves jack of all trades, but IA is something that I really love doing. It's a comfort area for me, and it's something that is really the backbone of whatever you're creating. So whether it is a website or an app, or even thinking about physical deliverables like a book or whatever, there is some sort of architecture to the information that you're presenting. So often when people think of IA, they throw around words like sitemap or content hierarchy. And in my mind, IA is really all of those things that make up the information that you are pushing or as a user consuming through any type of product.
Okay. Very cool. Learned a new acronym today.
I know, we're learning. It's great. So one of the things that we like to talk about here on the show, obviously we love to talk to small business owners and how they're managing all the different things that they're doing on a daily basis. And so with you guys, we definitely wanted to get into like the apps that you like to use, especially as an agency. We know you've probably got a lot of like great things to share with the audience on what's up and coming, what helps you, communicate if you've got a lot of projects going on and multiple people involved and that kind of stuff. So why don't we dive into that? I've got a little bit of a list here of your preferred apps. So why don't we dive in and say, tell us about Envision.
I'll
post a link over here to the side too, so people can take a look at it.
Envision is really, really they're amazing. The company's amazing. We've had Culture has spoken with members of their company a couple times and done like little, group chats when they were first starting. And like I said, they're amazing. And they recently have just been pushing out new feature after new feature. But fundamentally what it is so Culture, or House as we are, we will upload screens of something that we designed, and you can almost make like hotspots and then make it clickable. So it's almost like a lower level clickable prototype. And then you can send that to the client and they can actually comment right on the designs. So it opens like a whole other form of communication through there. And then you have it recorded so we can go back and look at the notes we've made and stuff like that. And then you can, you can do mobile, you can do, I think they just added Apple Watch.
Yeah, so you can essentially view a design through different interfaces or devices.
Okay.
And we also use it, I think it, like when you boil it all down, it's a prototyping tool in a sense. And we use it both internally and externally to share design. So oftentimes if Kate and I are working on something and she's doing the design and I'm doing the content, we will post the most recent version in Envision, and then we can use that as a collaboration tool where like Kate was saying with the comments, I can post a comment, she can respond. We can then share that with our client, and they can do the same and even see kind of the feedback or the dialogue that Kate and I had as we were looking at a design and making those changes.
Yeah, it's become really helpful ever since we integrated it into our workflow. I think clients love it. We love it. It's really well received.
Yeah, and there's also a live share through Envision too. So you think of kind of, the go-to-meeting approach to presenting something to a client. Go-to-meeting certainly is great and has its purposes, but with Envision, you can do almost all of those same things, sans the actual phone dial-in. But in terms of sharing your screen, you can actually walk a client through a live share of what you're looking at. And that's really important so that when we're showing something to a client and introducing UX or UI or any kind of functionality or interactivity, we can actually walk them through it rather than just handing it to them and be like, okay, visualize this. Pretend this is going to scroll and pretend you're going to click this button. That can be really hard for some clients to understand. So this allows us to kind of tell that story to them and really put themselves in the experience before it's ever created.
Wow. And you upload the CSS and everything, or are they more?
They actually are in the, one of their newer features they're coming out with is being able to build those prototypes and then export CSS so you can take it right into development. But this is more like if I saved something out of Photoshop, it would just be like the flat image.
Yeah.
And like Heather was saying, like, you could send that to the client, but then you're going to be like, well, this is a button, like, trust us, this is a button, you know. You upload it to Envision and you can actually make it a button that will, you can click and go to the next page. So it really opens up that whole channel of communication.
Well, right now you can do JPEGs, PNGs, and PDFs. I think there's a few different formats that you can work with.
Yeah. Interesting.
Okay. And does it work just based on like a license or like monthly usage, or how does that work?
You can have, I have like a personal free account, and Culture has a subscription account that everyone within and Culture and House can use.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, they do have that free, very base model, but then obviously you step up after that.
Do you ever find that when you're introducing a new app to clients that you're working with, that they're a little resistant to like, oh gosh, now I have to like learn this thing, and I don't know, do you ever get any resistance? And if so, how do you overcome that?
Yeah, I want to say, because we've used Basecamp, we've used what are we using now? Culture uses a program called MavenLink now, so they can Envision, because we're trying to do the best thing we can internally to organize ourselves, and then also say, what is best for the client, how can we work together? So while we're doing this, kind of trial and error to find what works best for everybody else, we kind of hope that they'll go along on the ride with us. And it's gone well. Like, I don't think we've had any major pushback.
I would say, like Kate said, we use so many different kinds of tools. And with Envision, I would say it's the one tool that we get the least pushback from clients on. I think it's just because it's so easy to use as a user. And, when we do run into those instances where maybe a client isn't quite grasping it, or they're getting frustrated with it, it's just a quick training session. Maybe that's done in person or, over the phone or whatever. But just walking them through, as soon as someone gets the hang of it, they're much more, willing to use it in the future.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we run everything through Basecamp, and so we frequently find that there's a little hesitancy to get, to get on board with it and, really adopt it. So, well, great. Mike, any comments about that one before we move on to the next app?
No, it's interesting. It allows you to do what in like manufacturing you call like rapid prototyping, and and a real web environment where you can actually look and see how it's going to look in different formats. I think it's very interesting.
Yeah.
And not only just the different devices or formats, but versions too. I mean, so Envision or other prototyping tools like that allow you to look back at version 1, version 2, version 3, and see how they compare, and kind of also track the decisions that were made. Like, how did you get from that UI structure on version 1 to version 3? Whereas, maybe before you're digging through your desktop or Google folder structures to find those versions.
Or email even, it's like there was a point where we were just, back in the day, where you're just emailing back and forth. You're sending these JPEGs or these PNGs, and then you're getting your feedback based on email, and you have to search through your emails. Yeah, this is, it makes your workflow so much quicker and so much easier.
Wonderful.
That's great.
Yeah, I'm going to check it out. For sure. All right, let's take a look at Atomic now. Tell us about that.
Yeah, that is that almost takes what Envision does and takes it to the next level. So not only now is it a clickable prototype, but you can make animations and interactions happen. So like if you click this button, maybe a menu slides in, or like, things fade in and out, or you're adding this timeline. It almost has a little bit of like a flash element to it, where you have a timeline and you can add those interactions and animations. So you're kind of taking what you did in Envision, where it was flat and you're clicking from page to page, it's still interactive, to a whole other level where you're showing those animations that could be there in the final product. So yeah, it just kind of takes that to a next level.
Yeah, and this is something that we use. It's really great for pitching sales and case studies. So Kate actually used this for a project that we created with the Culture Lab. And it's not quite in development yet, but we needed to somehow show this whole experience to potential interested clients. And so Kate put together this whole animation, and that's all we show now when we're talking about this product. And again, it just allows people to take in the entire experience without having to, kind of piece everything together. They know exactly how it's going to work and how it's going to function. So it's also really great, when our CEO says, "Hey, I need that work you did on this project, to include in some sales proposal." It's just so easy to send them that link, and they can upload that, and it basically tells the story for them with very little effort required. Yeah.
Neat. Very cool. So is it something that would you use both apps with the same client or the same project, or is it kind of one or the other?
Yeah, I would say we would use them. It just, again, Envision is great for more of the two-way communication. So when we're collecting feedback and whether it's internally or externally, whereas Atomic may be a little bit more one-directional. This tells the story, but it's not so good at collecting that feedback at this point anyway from the customer. So I think we can certainly use them for the same types of projects, the same clients. It just depends on what we're trying to do and at what stage of the project we're in.
Okay. All right. Okay, next on the list was, let me see, Slack.
Yeah.
I love Slack too.
Yeah, we caught the Slack bug, I think, like every other small and I guess large company, where we use it for everything.
Yeah, I think, this certainly isn't an unfamiliar tool to, I'm sure, most of the people listening here. But we use it, again, internally. We also have external channels and groups where clients are communicating with us. There's actually one project in particular that I'm thinking of at Culture, and all of the client communication is done through Slack. So we use it not just as an internal communication tool, but externally. I think we're all involved in different channels that outside of Culture that are interesting to us and really relevant to the work we're doing. And so it allows you to kind of, tap into all of these people and companies and thoughts, and it's a knowledge base. It's way more than a chat tool. Yeah. And so it's pretty central to a lot of what we do on a daily basis.
That's interesting that you use it for client communication. Has that caused any sort of hiccups or any issues? Or
I think it definitely depends on the client that you're working with.
Yeah.
And this comes down to our process and how we work together and how we work with different clients, and sometimes that looks different for each engagement. I would say the biggest hiccup when you're dealing with Slack with a client is if I get up from my desk for an hour or two for a meeting and I come back and I miss something from a client, that can be a little challenging to kind of go back and figure out where you are in the conversation. But I think, again, it definitely comes down to the type of client you're working with, and you kind of figure out that workflow at the beginning before you ever create a room for clients to join.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we've actually turned on rooms for customers and agents for us. So we're doing tech support via Slack, which is very, very cool. And internally, just this week, we turned on the little phone icon. So through Slack, you can make a WebRTC call between employees, which is pretty cool.
Wow. Are you guys the back end provider for that?
No.
Should be.
But it's still WebRTC, and it's still pretty cool.
Right. We'll have to hook that up somehow. So if you work for Slack, talk to Mike. There's a little plug for you. We just started using it a couple of months ago, and we've got we've got some fun little channels. We actually have one we started that's all around telecom terminology, and we take turns as a team, and we post like a word of the day essentially, and we give the word of the day, what it means, which of our clients like do whatever this is, and we use it in a sentence, and then we give like a funny clue to like remember what it is. And so that's just it's a little thing, but I think it's gone a long way just in as you know, Mike, like there are so many terms in our industry, and getting up to speed on all of them, and it's kind of like when you first come into it, it's like speaking Chinese, right? So that one's been really fun. And then we set up a channel for like celebrations of just any good news that we have. And I don't know, it's been really neat. Like I've really, really enjoyed using Slack.
Yeah.
So, and I'm sure that there's a lot more we could be doing with it, but love to hear what you guys are doing with it.
Got a good telco term story, and I still have the Post-it note. When I was working from my home office, I had a little Post-it note up on the side of the monitor that said, origination equals inbound, termination equals outbound. And it's just what telecom calls, inbound calls, and outbound calls. But we were kind of that green back in the beginning.
Sure.
Yeah, that's so cool. Yeah, we're growing at a pretty fast clip, so I've got to like get people up to speed on like all the terms and stuff quickly. So this is what the team came up with, like Slack, and using the Slack channel, and it's working out great. Okay, and finally, Google Apps. We're huge fans of Google Apps as well, but Heather and Kate, tell us how you use them.
Yeah, I think I joke that I could do my entire job with just Google, and it's kind of true. That's where we manage everything. We store all of our documents. Obviously, all of the collaboration that Google Apps allows is really great. Especially for Kate and I, kind of this shop working so closely together and have a lot of that cross-discipline. Kind of
Awesome.
Yeah, they were cutting out for me. Were you able to hear them, Mike?
No,
okay.
Google Docs. So we'll wait for them to come back up. But I'm just looking at my browser right now, and I definitely have tab overload. Just in this frame, I have 35 windows open. Just probably a bad thing, but I was just counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 10 of them are Google Docs windows, so either Gmail or spreadsheets or Docs or something. So a third of my 30 windows are Google Docs windows. 1 Slack window, 2 Salesforce windows, and then and a couple OnSIP windows, and that's about it.
Yeah.
But for me, Google Docs is Google Apps. So between Gmail and their apps, I mean, it's just such a great collaboration tool. While we're sitting here talking, I'm seeing people updating spreadsheets and doing things. So it's
it's so true.
Yeah, it's
really cool stuff.
It's a wonder we used to have to get around with emailing Excel spreadsheets to each other, and now it just kind of sits there and you can do whatever you want with it. It's kind of amazing.
Yeah. I recently hired a new bookkeeper because my last bookkeeper retired, and everything they do is in Google Docs. Like when I have a report, they send me a link that opens up in Google Docs, and then I can like review every transaction, and everything is like a little drop down, so I can like correct something or fix it, and it's all done in Google Docs, which I think is really.
Huh. I
was kind of shocked at first. I was like, wow, they've kind of built something that I don't have to open QuickBooks or try to get around that. It's all integrated with Google Docs.
Yet another app to learn, right?
Right, exactly.
Log into.
Cool. Well, I hope they're able to call back in. They were getting a little choppy for a couple minutes there, and I didn't know if it was just me or if it was if you were hearing the same thing. So I hope we get them back on here soon. But did you get a chance, Mike, to take a look at the articles that we had selected here?
I did for RTC.
Yeah, let's see. One of them was the end of apps as we know them.
Yeah.
And then the other one was 2016 UX design trends. So I'll copy over the end of apps one here so that those of you who are on can follow along with us. Yeah, so this one was, basically talking about how we're moving away from a screen with just a bunch of little squares, right? And having a separate app. Oh, here they are. Let's see if we can get them back on.
Yay.
Okay, hopefully. It's trying. They're trying. They're trying really hard to come on with us. All right, hopefully we can get them on. So talking about how we're really moving away from, all these different little squares and different apps that open up and moving toward an idea of cards, right? So that, you've got a text here and then an email maybe underneath it and a notification from your bank underneath that. And that clicking on those things doesn't necessarily take you to the app and open the app, but allows you to do whatever you need to do right in that little card,
right.
Which I think is brilliant and fascinating, and I can't wait for that. What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, it reminded me a little bit of the old Apple app. Was it just called HyperCards? God, how old am I? I think. Yeah. So it was the old Apple app that was just on the old Macs called HyperCard, which was just this really great, interesting, cool program. It was kind of a database, sort of, kind of contact management, kind of a programming language, but it had a similar concept. Things were just kind of cards, and you could program it to do things, but it also could contain structured and unstructured data. So my first glance of reading that article kind of reminded me of that a little bit.
Yeah. Yay, they're back.
Yeah, sorry, I don't know what happened. We even into the Ethernet. We didn't even use Wi-Fi, so I don't know what happened. But
yeah,
we're back.
You got a little choppy there for a while, and then just kind of dropped off. So
we lost Mike altogether there for a little bit. Yeah, I don't know. And then we lost it. So
yeah,
we're back.
Just so everyone knows, Blab is still in beta. It's still, working out some of the kinks, and this is what happens with collaboration technology, but it's all good. We're glad that you made it back on. Yeah. So we started talking about the first article, the end of apps as we know them, and posted it over here, and started talking about just that concept of moving away from selecting, clicking on something and opening up a totally different app and, doing things in that way, or having your view be a screen with a bunch of apps. Right, and moving toward like what they were calling cards. So, I
think we had some mixed feelings about this article, the two of us. I don't know if you want to go first.
Yeah, I definitely, the trend away from kind of apps as we know it, I think it's very real. I think what that, final step looks like is still to be determined. And again, this is where, maybe we have some different ideas. One of the things that stuck out to me when I was reading that article is that the author was talking about, essentially curated content. And this is something, again, that's not unfamiliar, and we're always trying to curate content. But I still think when it comes to social media, there's this element of FOMO a little bit, the fear of missing out. And if you're only seeing, or if you're only presented with, content that is only relevant to you. I mean, I know when I'm signing on Instagram or Facebook, I want to see what other people are doing. And so it's kind of that push and pull a little bit. And how do you account for, I want the information that's relevant to just me to be, spoon fed to me. But I also want, I still very much want to see what other people are doing. And, if you had everybody's feeds, obviously, coming to your device through a card or a container, so to speak, it makes it pretty cluttered and a little challenging to do that.
That's what, and in the same vein, I guess, but when you think about that, so we're saying, we'll use Facebook as an example. We're saying we're not going to use their app individually anymore, that we're going to be, fed this on a sort of dashboard almost. It becomes your life's a dashboard, and everything is just being fed into it, which, is cool to a certain level. We all love, like, Minority Report and all of those crazy and stuff. But then the question I think that brings up is, what about then designing that user experience for the individual apps? You're almost completely taking that away. So it's like, how do you build that brand for Facebook? How do you let your users have brand loyalty, and you're building this whole following, and you're, creating that ecosystem? But then essentially what you're worrying about is the user experience of this dashboard. So you're taking away everything from those individual brands and products and apps and making it just all about those cards. So it's like, it's a hit or miss for me almost.
Yeah, and I think it's definitely going in that direction. I don't think we're all kind of in agreement there. But I think there will be a lot of those questions that designers and marketers will have to kind of figure out, as we kind of move in that direction. I think it will definitely change the ballgame quite a bit.
Yeah, for sure. I would hope there would be all kinds of customizations for the types of things that you want to have come through, right, into that card stack, and the things that you want to keep in the app that you get, for me, like, anything on Facebook can stay in the app. Like, I don't need to be notified about anything there, but other things, text message, emails, that type of thing, I would love to see just kind of come in order and be able to deal with them right there in one screen. So,
it's so interesting. Kate and I were talking a little bit about APIs this morning, and obviously,
just over our morning coffee.
Right.
Yeah.
Woke up thinking about them. And, obviously APIs kind of allow us to do that to an extent, pick and choose and take information from this tool and put it in this one. But right now, that requires a developer to do that, to make that happen. And wouldn't it be so interesting if we got to a point where APIs were actually connected by the consumer? And so you almost have these little mini user-focused APIs that it would just be, a toggle or a click of a button and say, I want this, this, and this from Facebook, Twitter. Maybe I only want my, Facebook photos and my Twitter favorites and, I don't know. There's a million different foundations. And then you essentially curate your own application based on those mini APIs. I don't know, maybe that's really crazy, and maybe developers sitting here listening to me say this and they're like, thinks I'm nuts. But you feel like it's going that way.
Have you seen if this then that IFTTT?
Oh yeah. And what's the
Zapier?
Yeah. That one gets a little bit more like developy. The Zapier goes a little bit then. But yeah, I remember when IFTTT came out and we were all like, oh, this is so cool. Because at the time, Instagram didn't have the feature that you could post to Facebook and Twitter through Instagram. So, everybody immediately set up the IFTTT that once you posted something on Instagram, it automatically posted it to the other two, and it was like people's minds were like blown. You were like, oh my god. So yeah, I think is kind of like in that vein. Like you kind of want to have everything at once.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but like I said, it's like, where is that breakdown then? Because are you losing the complete one-on-one experience with the brand and the client or the user? Sorry. But yeah, so yeah, I think it's a interesting hurdle we'll get over.
Yeah, I also wonder how just if at some point just the information overload will tip in another direction, right? Like I know that I sense myself at times just being like, I'm going to delete all the social media and I don't want to see any more notifications. And, you know, I'm just going to go on blackout for a month or whatever. Of course I can't because I work at an agency and at the end of the day, I love it. You know, it's just,
but like, oh wait, it's our jobs. Yeah. We could totally do that.
But I do wonder if some of these things you're talking about will help people to reduce the noise, right? And to really focus on, like you're saying, like if I pull in, I really only care about maybe, who knows, you know, 25 to 50 people that I'm connected to, like keeping up with daily, right? Or regularly. And so filtering in like, okay, I want notifications from these people and these apps, but just in one place where it's a little bit more reasonable and you don't get lost in endless scrolling through things. And I don't know, what do you guys think?
I do. Yeah. I mean, I do think that technology and design both is very much a pendulum.
Yeah.
And we're constantly swinging back and forth, and we never like actually find that happy middle, or if we do, it's there for a very short time.
Yeah.
So, you know, we're saying now that we want to have all of this at our fingertips right away, and then give it like 2 or 3 years, we're going to be like, oh my God, I'm so overwhelmed. I just want that individual experience again. So I think we constantly, as you know, as a people, just go back and forth all the time with technology.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and I do agree though. You know, if we are going to go this route with kind of curating that content, you know, figuring out the information architecture of that and how that presents itself will be a huge challenge for designers, for developers, for content strategists. I mean, that's, you know, how do you present that information in a way that people want to consume it?
Yeah.
And that's a really big challenge, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
There's, a great book by Daniel Pinkman called Drive. And one of the things that he talks about is getting in the flow. So in work, getting in a flow, if you're in sports, getting in the zone. That's my biggest issue with Slack and instant messaging and everything. I'm in the zone. I'm in the middle of a phone call. I'm in the middle of writing an email, and all these alerts start popping up. So I think for me, that's going to be the next generation is something, my laptop, somewhere knows what I'm doing, and it's just if I'm in the middle, if the keyboard's active, just silence all the alerts until you see a pause or something. Let that flow happen.
Yeah, I think that just the thought of generation, like I have a 17-year-old sister, and watching her use her cell phone is pure insanity. Like I thought that I'm technologically inclined, obviously, but watching her, she does like 13 things at once on a phone that's like this big, you know, and it's crazy because like maybe to her having all of those cards at her fingertips, she would love it.
Yeah.
Whereas maybe we would be like, I'm a little overwhelmed, you know? So it's kind of that balance.
Yeah.
I heard there was a study done recently where humans' attention span is now less than that of a goldfish. So like goldfish attention span is like 9 seconds, and like average human attention span is now like 8 seconds or something, you know?
Oh, brutal.
Something like that.
Like 0.3 seconds for a YouTube video to buffer. It's like some kind of crazy number, and it's like if it takes longer than that to buffer for the video to start, people just leave the page.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Wow.
Well, the answer to all of this is hot yoga, right, Mike?
Clearly.
Absolutely. Get you right in the flow.
Yeah, great stuff. Okay, well, I know we have one more article. Can you guys stay on for another couple minutes if we briefly go through the last? Okay, I know we're going a little over. Is that okay with you, Mike?
Perfect. Yeah, that's great.
Okay. All right. So tell us about first of all, I guess we do have a couple more acronyms here that we've been throwing around, but tell us what UX is for anyone that might not know. And then let's get into this UX design trends for 2016.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to figure out which definition will warrant the least amount of backlash.
Controversial, this UX.
No, I think, obviously, UX, user experience, at this point, I think it is your default to any role that you play in the business or creative setting. We have so many titles: UX designer, UX engineer, UX, you name it. We put UX in front of anything, and suddenly, you're supposed to have this extra specialty. But I think Kate and I would both agree that when it comes to user experience, that is your base model. I think of it almost like a car. And, when you're going car shopping and you're looking at a Subaru Legacy, all-wheel drive here in the Northeast. You have your base model, and then you can add, the leather seats and the sunroof and all of those things. And I think UX is that base model, again, for any practice and any role. You have to have an understanding of users, how people use your tool, just the general market and what's going on around you. I mean, you can always be learning about those things. And I think that goes back to our earlier conversation about how Kate and I, just try to tap into what we know about the world and our own experiences, and Slack as a knowledge base, just to understand what people are saying, how people are using different devices, how Kate's sister is using an iPhone versus your aunt.
Shout out.
Shout out to Aunt Kathleen.
So I just think it's really, at this point, it's mandatory.
Yeah, I was gonna say there was a time when UX was like a department. So you have development, you have design, you have strategy or accounts, and then now I feel like each of those departments has to work a little bit harder to create everything they do is the user experience. So whatever I design and whatever the developer develops, that's all going into the user experience, as opposed to saying somebody is setting the user experience and then kind of building off of that. So it's a weird,
I think, Kate and I also, we have a blog that we write on Medium. It's called House Built, and we actually talk about a lot of small things that make up UX. So we often look at it as kind of context. So if you look at web design specifically, and you're talking about content and design, both of those things working together create context, and that is essentially creating a user experience. And obviously that is just one example. For something like an app, there's a lot of other pieces at play. But I think understanding we're all kind of UX experts, but if I'm the writer and Kate's the designer and we're working with the developer, we each need to kind of understand how UX applies to those different disciplines and how they apply to other disciplines too. I think it's really important not just to work in a silo, but really understand, how all of those things come together and work together to create the best experience for your audience.
Great. So how does that happen if everyone is? It reminds me of kind of the saying everyone is in sales, right? But if everyone's in UX now, how do you get up to speed on the best trends for UX or things obviously your blog, checking it. What's your blog URL?
I don't even know.
It's medium.com slash.
Is it slash Housebolt?
Yeah.
Housebolt. Yeah.
Okay. So that's one way. How else do teams like yours become, I guess, UX conscious, right?
Well, I think it goes back to how we were just saying that we treat our lives very much as the research. And I think that we are, I don't even think I know that we are constantly reading things. We're very short read oriented. So these articles that, we read today to kind of talk about, but we read those all day. That's just it's a constant, so, we're working, we're checking Twitter, we're reading these articles. I have my big Apple monitor and I probably have 18 tabs open at any given time because I'm a multitasker. So I'm doing 13 things at once. But so we stay up on the things just because we live it.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it's just around us all the time.
Yeah, and I think, going back to knowing your knowledge bases, whether that's Slack or your network or whatever, tapping into those different people and just spending time investing, knowing what you can learn from them.
Yeah.
I just think that's so important. And I think, the beautiful thing about where we work at Ant Culture is that, and I'm sure many agencies feel this way, but everybody here is so eager to teach and to absorb. And it's really valuable because we do offer a lot of different disciplines in terms of design and development and accounts, and we're kind of all across the board in terms of our skill sets, but we all understand the value that those other groups can bring. And even outside of this industry, when you're thinking about designing something for a government, understanding basic UI and UX principles is important, but how about the way governments operate? How about communication in governments? I mean, those are all things that aren't necessarily a direct translation to whatever you're designing, but it's really important to understand that so that you can, not solve for technology, but solve for users and for people.
Yeah.
The thing that resonated for me in that story was talking about storytelling by design, and we're all at the end of the day, we're all still humans. Humans have this innate love of a good story, and for me, that kind of shifts my thinking about what the design is. It's not just you want to make it easy, make it pretty. You're really trying to tell a story, and I thought that was a very interesting concept.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think that designing for emotion is probably the most important thing that you can do.
Probably the hardest.
Well, and the hardest. But yeah, so like even in the very beginning when you're pitching a client about a product, you have to think to yourself, how will this product and like what we're going to provide make your life and then the lives of your users better? Right. You know what I mean? Like how will they connect to it? So we're not just making a website, we're making a place for you to go to find information that's pertinent. Like you need to have it. So it's like, how do we make their lives easier and connect to this digital world that we're creating? Because at the end of the day, everybody that's using it, like you just said, Mike, we're humans. We all feel, we all have emotions. So how do you have this cold technology and then connect it to the people?
Yeah. It's interesting. The last couple of trade shows I've attended for our industry have had marketing tracks, and I've spoken at a couple of them, but I've noticed that storytelling has started to pop up on the agenda for, these conferences and, as part of marketing. And I think we're going to continue to see that as people start to understand, just like you were saying, that it's not the whiz bang features that sell your product, right? It's the understanding of how does this make my life better? How am I saving money? Am I saving time? How does my life change? And I think that's really interesting because in our industry, that's primarily tech and kind of dull, let's say, like not OnSIP. OnSIP has like a lot of personality, but
of course.
But you know what I'm saying, Mike, right? Like the majority of the industry is pretty, I've described it as like a herd of zebras running by, and it's hard to tell where one company ends and the other begins. They're all saying the same thing. And so I really resonate with what you guys are saying, that it is about the story. It is about emotion. It's about the benefits, not the features and things like that. So.
And, whenever we go into, a client meeting, we're just trying to understand their requirements and their needs. We're hardly ever focusing on, there is a time and a place where you focus on the aesthetic, the pure aesthetic.
Right.
But we want to understand, hey, what are your pain points? Like, we want to kind of establish that emotional connection up front so that we can better design for that. And so I think, sometimes you go into, a meeting and someone's like, why are you asking me about my business process? Like, why are you asking me about things that have nothing to do with the website? And then showing the client how those things do eventually feed into whatever you're creating for them, it goes a long way. And I think at the end, the client's so much happier with what they're getting.
Yeah, for sure. Well, great, guys. I actually have to drop. I've got another call here to prep for, but I understand you guys will probably stay on and do the after show here, so I'll just wrap it. But thank you, Kate and Heather, so much for joining us today. It was wonderful to talk to you. So many great ideas, really exciting stuff that we're talking about. So really appreciate you guys taking the time out to join us.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Call us anytime.
Yeah, you bet. And thanks, users and viewers. Thank you for joining SM Blab today. We hope you found this information super helpful. Join us again in about 2.5 weeks as we discuss more practical applications to your small business tech challenges. And of course, more amazing acronyms like SIP, VoIP, WebRTC, UX, UI, AI. Was that what we learned today?
No, I learned a new one, FOMO.
FOMO.
A new one for today.
Awesome. So our next SM Lab is going to be on March 23rd at 10 a.m. Pacific, which is 1 p.m. Eastern. And we'll go on the next edition of SM Blab.
Great.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Angela.
Okay. Talk to you later. Bye.
Bye. Yay.